Moldova's pro-European party, led by President Maia Sandu, claims victory in a high-stakes parliamentary election.
At least one person has been killed and 9 others wounded after a gunman drove a vehicle into a Mormon church in Michigan, the United States.
Denmark has banned all civilian drone flights after drones were again observed at several military facilities over the weekend.
Moldova's pro-European party, led by President Maia Sandu, has claimed victory in a high-stakes parliamentary election, a vote seen as pivotal for the country's future in the European Union. The Party of Action and Solidarity won around 48% of the vote, ahead of its pro-Russia rivals. The result amounts to securing a majority in Moldova's 101-seat parliament. Pro-Russian opposition leader Igor Dodon had urged supporters to rally even before results came in, although Sandu's party now looks set to dominate the new parliament. The weeks leading up to the election were marred by tension and allegations of Russian interference. Authorities reported bomb threats against polling stations abroad, voter bribery, and plots to cause mass unrest. 3 suspects from the breakaway region of Transnistria were detained. For its part, Moscow has denied accusations of meddling in the election.
Denmark has banned all civilian drone flights after drones were again observed at several military facilities over the weekend. The Danish Transportation Ministry said the ban is aimed at removing the risk that enemy drones are confused with legal ones and vice versa. On Sunday, Denmark's Defense Ministry reported new drone sightings, a day after it had several capacities deployed following separate sightings on Saturday. Danish Transportation Minister Thomas Danielsen said that security will be a main focus during the upcoming European summit in Copenhagen. Tensions have been running high in Denmark following multiple reports of drone sightings last week that temporarily forced Danish airports to shut down. While it's not clear who was behind the drone activity, Denmark's Prime Minister and NATO Secretary General said last week that Russian involvement couldn't be ruled out.
At least one person has been killed and 9 others wounded after a gunman drove a vehicle into a Mormon church in Michigan, the United States, shooting indiscriminately. U.S. authorities said the alleged shooter, a 40-year-old male who also set part of the church building on fire, was shot dead by police. The attack in Grand Blanc on the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, also known as the Mormon Church, occurred during a Sunday service that attracts hundreds of people. It also came hours after Russell M. Nelson, the oldest ever president of the Mormon Church, died at 101 years old. U.S. officials warned they may discover additional victims, while police said investigators are continuing to search the suspect's residence for a motive. U.S. President Donald Trump condemned the shooting, calling it horrendous. Trump said the FBI will be leading the federal investigation.
At least 4 people were killed and more than 70 others were injured as Russia carried out a major offensive on Ukraine overnight into Sunday. The attack targeted multiple cities, but was heaviest on the capital Kyiv and the southeastern city of Zaporizhia. Regional officials in Zaporizhia say the attacks injured more than 24 people, to varying degrees, among them 3 children. In Kyiv, 4 people were killed, including a 12-year-old child, as Moscow pummeled the city with drones and various types of missiles. Ukraine's President Volodymyr Zelensky slammed the strikes and accused Russia of deliberately targeting civilians to incite fear and terror. He also accused Moscow of making a statement on their position regarding ending the war after it received a wave of international condemnation at the UN General Assembly. The Ukrainian leader urged allies again to exert more pressure on Russia to bring the full-scale invasion of his country, well into its 4th year, to an end. He also called on allies to heed U.S. President Donald Trump's plan and halt Russian energy purchases to choke the Kremlin's finances and force them to the negotiating table.
Iranian lawmakers weighed on Sunday about how to respond to the reimposed UN sanctions over its nuclear program, with one parliamentarian suggesting Tehran could potentially withdraw from the Nuclear Non-Proliferation Treaty. The sanctions again freeze Iranian assets abroad and penalize any development of Iran's ballistic missile program, among other measures. The sanctions came into force on Sunday via a mechanism known as snapback, included in Iran's 2015 nuclear deal with major world powers. It also comes 3 months after Israel and the US bombed Iran, barred dealings related to Tehran's nuclear and ballistic missiles program. The sanctions are expected to have wider effects on Iran's troubled economy.
On the sidelines of the UN General Assembly in New York last week, Secretary General of Humanitarian Aid Network Caritas International, Alistair Dutton, spoke about the serious challenges the UN currently faces.
We're here at the United Nations, and it's the 80th anniversary of the United Nations, which really is the time when states came together to craft international law or strengthen international law as a way of building peace and trying to forge peace between nations. It's clearly a very difficult time for that, and those norms of international law, of multilateralism, are being stretched, and world leaders are perhaps not treating them with the respect that they have in the past. We see states playing with the fringes or challenging the application of international law, but we have to stay strong to those. And the United Nations stands as the custodian of those norms of international law, and we absolutely have to strengthen those and keep working to get them reinforced and brought back to the force that they've had in the past.
NATO and its allies want to bring defence tech companies to the battlefield, at least for training. At NATO's annual exercise REPMUS in Portugal, they're testing maritime unmanned systems, including drones. This year, 24 countries are participating, and for the first time, Ukraine's navy is involved. For the past 3 weeks, allies have split into red and blue teams to carry out missions against each other. Ukraine's been on the red team.
One of the important things here we have during this exercise is the participation of Ukrainian Navy. And I think it's important to know how they work and how they use their systems and how they use their boats. Because they do it in a very simple way. We have systems much more complex, much more expensive than they use, and they are very efficient.
Another novelty this year is daily jamming trials to test drones in combat-like environments. There's also a free tech zone, a 2,600 square kilometre area where companies, academics and the military can freely experiment. This has included a nuclear submarine, drones and mine detectors to protect subsea cables. Germany's Rheinmetall is displaying its Hero system, a kamikaze drone.
We can launch from 60 kilometers away and be far away from the target, but it's no harm's way to the soldier and charge for the drill.
Meanwhile, the French company AK Heroes has been carrying out missions almost every day. Their plug-in technology can be applied to drones, which then uses AI to analyse what is happening on the ground. It's nearly impossible to jam.
As everybody knows, the war in Ukraine has changed everything. We are now entering a paradigm of asymmetric warfare everywhere, so the little drones, could be like ground drones or navy drones or UAVs, are very critical in this kind of warfare, and they embed more and more AI. And so what we are witnessing here at REPMUS is this change of this paradigm with a new warfare which is made of very agile, very fast.
Back at the base, the red and blue teams analyse what's going on in real time. It's here where decisions are made.
To have the command and control and to have the video, the real position of the units, it's a different way to fight. So right now with the digital tasking, I can task and retask the assets in flight. I can assign different areas. I can see what is happening in the theater. So, as you can see, it's for command and control. It's improving a lot.
He wouldn't declare a winner, but said Ukraine's providing valuable lessons as allies develop new tactics. Pascal Davies, Euronews.